Every story begins with a spark. A single page, a single voice, a single chapter. Welcome to Chapter 1, where our authors take you on the journey in their own words. Settle in, listen closely. This is where the adventure begins.
Hey everybody, it's Mimi, and I am going to read the first chapter of The Professor from my Loves of Lakeside series. Chapter 1, Jacob. Did you know your house is the only one on the street without Christmas lights? Luke slammed the front door, brushed the snow from his hair, and set the six-pack of beer on the kitchen table. Jacob rolled his eyes. I moved in 2 weeks ago. I don't even own Christmas lights. Not to mention, Christmas is a month away. I've got time. Add lights to your list, Luke laughed, tipping his head at the fridge where Jacob had a to-do list for his new home. Jacob chuckled and shook his head. Are you going to help me paint the living room or not? I'd like to unpack sometime before the new year. Luke shucked off his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. He gave his best friend a wry smile before grabbing a beer and heading for the living room. Jacob followed him. It had been less than 2 weeks since he'd moved into his new place, and Jacob was still living out of boxes. He wanted to get some remodeling done before the second semester of school started. He suspected he wouldn't have much time once he went to work. Have you talked to Charlie? Luke asked. He was on the ladder, edging the wall with paint below the ceiling. Luke had a steadier hand than Jacob, so he'd willingly given up the job to his best friend. His assistant called me. Serena, right? Luke nodded. Yeah, she's sweet and new to town. Moved here in the fall, I think. Her boyfriend is the head of campus security. Nice guy. Evan something. Him and his friend own some big security company back east. What did she say? Everything's ready. They set my classes and delivered my stuff to my office last week. Everybody is so excited to have me at Lakeside. Blah, blah, blah. Luke stepped off the ladder and poked him in the shoulder. What's wrong? Jacob scrubbed a hand over his face, scratching at the growing facial hair. He hadn't decided if he was going to keep the beard or not. He kind of liked it, and knowing his dad would have approved, made keeping it even more appealing. He sighed and dropped to the tarp-covered couch. I never wanted to come back to Lakeside, he said. I thought when I left for college, I was leaving it behind forever. Coming back is like admitting defeat. Seriously? Luke chuckled. You're one of the foremost experts in your field. How many people from our high school got a doctorate before they were 25? Not one of them is a certified genius. Where's your Mensa card, by the way? If I were you, I would frame it on my goddamn office door right beside my doctorate. We should call you Dr. Moore instead of Professor Moore. Jacob scoffed. Dr. Moore sounds so pompous. I'll stick with Professor Moore. Coming home isn't a failure, Jake. Maybe it was time. You spent the last 3 years hiding in Rome. I wasn't hiding. I was working. Luke grinned. You're full of shit. You were hiding from Maggie. And I'm not hiding now? Jacob wondered. Coming home isn't running away from Rome and Gianna? Is it? Luke asked gently. Or did you finally realize this is where you belong? It sucks your dad's death brought you back, but you're here now. You should make the best of it. After everything with Maggie and then Gianna. He rolled his eyes. Can we talk about something else, please? Sure. An evil grin spread across Luke's face. Jacob didn't like it at all. Are you ready to date? It's been, 2 months since you got back? Now that you're home, maybe it's time to find a new woman. You make it sound as easy as buying a new pair of shoes, Jacob sighed. Luke laughed. I'm not saying it's easy. I know it's not. But you could at least try. I wouldn't even know where to start. You don't have to find someone to marry, just someone to date and have fun with. He smirked. You know, I bet Bonnie has a friend. Luke took a sip of his beer and stared at his friend. I don't want to be set up. Just hear me out. Go out for drinks with me, Bonnie, and one of her single friends. We can go to Time Out, have a drink, maybe play some pool. Just friends hanging out, nothing more. It'll do you good to get out of the house. You need to quit moping around. I enjoy moping, Jacob grumbled. Luke rolled his eyes and threw a roll of painter's tape at him. Jacob burst out laughing. "I'll tell you what, I'll think about it, okay?" Jacob said. "At least let me get through the first few weeks of the semester, and then we'll talk about it." "I'm considering that a promise, and I'm holding you to it." Jacob ignored the remark, picked up a can of paint, and held it out to his best friend. "Finish the wall so I can unpack before Christmas gets here." The wind stung his cheeks and nose, making his face burn and his eyes water. Each breath hurt and made his lungs ache. He forgot how cold it got in Montana. Winters in Rome were mild, rainy, and it rarely snowed. Winters in Montana were like a punch to the gut. He regretted venturing out of his office in search of coffee. But the student union was closed for winter break, and Jacob was forced to find a place off campus. Wet, thick snow grew heavier as he walked across campus, chilling his bones in seconds. Jacob yanked open the door of the first cafe he came across, a small coffee shop near the university. It had been a burger place the last time he'd been in town. The place was deserted, all the tables empty. He took a second to stomp the snow from his boots and shoved his gloves in his coat pocket before he cleared his throat, hoping to get someone's attention. A young woman emerged from the back wearing a black apron and a name tag he couldn't read. She was short, maybe 5'4" or 5'5", much shorter than his 6'2", with long blonde hair and big, warm, chocolate brown eyes. Voluptuous, curvaceous, gorgeous. She plastered a smile on her face as he turned toward her, one of those, "I work in customer service, so I have to be here and pretend I like it" smiles. Her eyes widened when she saw him, and he heard her sharp intake of breath. Jacob chuckled. "Hi," she stammered. "Can I help you?" "Can I get a cup of coffee while I wait for the snow to stop?" he asked, pointing over his shoulder at the burgeoning blizzard. She leaned to the side and peered out the window. "Wow, it's really coming down." Sure. Just coffee? How do you take it?" "Black, no cream, 1 sugar." She grabbed a cup, filled it to the brim, and dropped in a packet of sugar, snapping the lid on and wiping the sides before handing it to him. He held out the cash, but she waved it away. "On the house." A genuine smile lit up her face. His heart thudded at the sight, and his breath caught in his throat. He propped a hip against the counter and gave her his best smile. "You always give free coffee to strangers?" Jacob asked. "Only the attractive ones," she quipped, the smile now accompanied by a flirty wink. He laughed and shook his head. He was aware of the effect he had on others. He taught many classes filled with young men and women who were not always subtle about their attraction to him. Over the years, he'd learned to ignore it. The stares, the giggling, the blatant innuendos, even the occasional inappropriate social media post. He'd dealt with them all over the years. He'd learned to close himself off and only let a few people in, like Luke. Those walls had protected him from any more heartbreak. But something about this girl made him want to break down those walls with a goddamn sledgehammer. He stared. He couldn't help it. She was stunning with her full pink lips, the blonde hair skimming her waist, full breasts, and an impressive body, obvious even under her oversized sweatshirt and dowdy black apron. "I'm Jacob." He held out his hand. "And you are?"
The first chapter has been read, but the story has only just begun. Join us again for more voices, more worlds, more Chapter 1.